Good morning to everyone, and thank you, Janakaji, Purnemaji, and Sai Institute and Surinaji for giving me such a opportunity to share about the special needs educations and health services in Nepal. It's my really a first time to give a workshop for the teacher, but I'm also a teacher. I used to teach different professional people working with disability how to make a wheelchair, how to teach a wheelchair user how to use it. So I'm also uh, uh, the wheelchair trainer, and also give a training for peer how to use a wheelchair. And as I said, everybody is a teacher, so being a teacher is very proud to share the skills that you have. And being a professional, it's we think like we share our skills, hand skills to others, so then other can continue it. I also work as a supervisor for the mostly for physiotherapy students. Being a pediatric physical therapist, so I have a student placement in my center. So I give trainee placement. Those who have a physiotherapy student from Kathmandu University, they have a placement. So I'm a supervisor. I also have a coordination between the different university in the Canada, Netherlands, and other countries. So their students who are the masters students of pediatric physical therapists. So they also wants to come to do their internship in Nepal and learn the cultures and learn the things how we handle the disabled children in Nepal. So that's all the background about my teachers. So actually, by profession, I'm the pediatric physiotherapist. So I used to work with the disability management from 16 years, and I'm the founder and then medical managing director of Special Education and Rehabilitation Center. So actually, this is my first time, so I didn't put a more materials about the effective techniques and all. So maybe I'll go through the presentation. I'll try my best to give ideas to the teacher how we look the special needs students in Nepal. So maybe we'll go for the presentation. I'll share the screen. Actually, I'll go to present about the services that already exist in Nepal. So maybe it will be new ideas or new knowledge for the teachers, what's going on for the special needs children in Nepal. In Nepal, we have different types of educational institutes providing the special education established under the different policy and educational frameworks in Nepal. So we have special schools, like special schools for intellectual impaired, school for hearing impaired, and school for visually impaired. We have an integrated school, which is called a resource center in the mainstream school all over the Nepal. So in every districts, we have a resource center. So resource center is, we have a government mainstream school where it is a resource center, one classroom or one or two residential room for the children with disabilities. So now from 3 years, so our government is planning to have a resource center in each municipality. Each municipality, and then in every district center, which is called as an assessment center. So in that center, they will intellectual hearing or the intellectuals hearing and the visual impaired. And they also in their office they also have a name of the schools. Are you listening? Do you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you.
Okay,
Hello.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So I thought maybe again the okay. So we have in that office we have like the name of the schools which are in that districts. School for mental impaired, school for visual impaired, school for hearing impaired, and number of seats available. And when the people with disability come, they will assess that children and they will send that, they will look in that chart now where the seat is available, and they will send that children to that resource center. So resource center is it's free. So children with disabilities, they don't have to pay anything. So government will provide a money for running the schools, teachers, payment, everything, administrative costs. Apart from that, the food for the special needs children and all the basic needs of the children. And in resource center, children with special needs can be stay for the 10 months. So they can, if the children are far from the village, it's very difficult to come to join the school every day. So they can stay in that resident for 10 months. 10 months. So resident, this resource centers is now the our government says only that districts people can get services in that resource center. So if the resource center is available in that district, but from the other district they come, they have to be in same district to take that services. And then the like institution based rehabilitation center, we have a different rehabilitation center. We provides lots of therapy and then healthcare system. So there are different types of INGOs and NGOs. So it's like daycare for autistic children, daycare for children with Down syndromes, and daycare center for muscular dystrophy, different types of daycare centers, and different types of rehabilitation centers. So in representing the like how we do the effective teaching methods and then health services for the children with disabilities in Nepal, as it's first time, so I like to present the SERC, our own organizations. Hope you all will learn something about what services is already available. And after this presentation, maybe we can discuss if you have any queries regarding the what's the Nepal is doing on the disabled children, then we can discuss on. So in 2009, some people like, including me, concerned that the children are not receiving the proper rehabilitative treatment along with the education they needed. So at that time, all the institutes were either an educational institute or a rehabilitation center. So if a child needed both, it had to be moved from place to place, since this institute were in different locations. So if the child's, in that time, child will get only education or only rehabilitation. So if they need therapy, they have to miss the educations. Or if they only needs therapy, miss the education. If they needs education, they miss the therapy. So there will be more problems in physical and mental problems. So in 2009, we started the Special Education and Rehabilitation Center for Disabled Children with the objective of providing quality education and rehabilitation services for the children with physical and intellectual handicaps under the one roof. So under the special education policy in 1996 of Government of Nepal. So our mission of our organization is fundamental objective of institute was to integrate education and rehabilitation services into a single program and provide the both services under the one roof. So maybe I'll go through the objective, then you all knows what it's already available, what the organization is doing for the children with disabilities. So objectives of our special education and rehabilitation center is providing a comprehensive education and rehabilitation services to the children with disabilities, providing independence and quality of life of children with disabilities, providing special education according to the IQ, learning abilities, and intellectual capacities, providing support and coordinating as a resource center to the government and other institutes for the development of special education in Nepal, designing and developing and implementing various curriculums, education materials, and adaptive devices for the children with disabilities, establishing and operating sustainable scholarship programs to support the children with disability who are economically disadvantaged, and providing the counseling to the parents with disabilities and advocate for the rights of the children with disabilities. So these are the objectives of the organization. Most of the organizations who work with the special needs children. So what we do in Nepal for the enrollment of the special needs children. So we have to understand the children, what are their abilities, what are their levels, what are their IQ. So to finding out and what are their disabilities. Like we have to understand the type of disabilities they also have. So we do the baseline assessment. It's a holistic approach. Once we understand the children's whole holistically. So it's a test for abilities in the areas of communications, self-care, sensory integration, cognitive skill, physical function and mobility, and socialization. So it's overall 6 areas. And this baseline assessment is formed from the early childhood POTIS guideline, sensory integration checklist, which is universally used. Most of the checklist or examination tools we use, which was universally used all over the world. So self-care checklist. So including all this, we modify according to needs of the Nepal, according to our cultures. Like our children don't learn how to make a pizza, maybe our children learn to how to make a tea, or how to make a rice, like that. So according to our cultures, we modified it and we designed a baseline assessment. So we do for holistic learning, the holistic approach for the children. So after that, we communicate with parents the options, conditions of the child they have, and levels of the children's. The children's of disability will have to be from severe, moderate, mild. So to enroll the child, we have to learn the severity or level of child. So with the level of child, we can know how much we can improve them, and the activities at the home and school. So in baseline reports, it's written like what they can do at home and what they can do at schools, and also communicate about the parents to the prognosis and time frame. So if the child's like with the severe disabilities, and then the parents have high expectation, we have to counsel the parents, and we have to share clearly about the prognosis, and then some time frames about the prognosis, and assessing the parents' needs. Our we works on the client center based treatment, client center treatment. We works on treatment. It's not like like we have an organization, we have this facility, so children takes this all facility. It's not like that. It's a client centers. It's like what the parents needs, what the child needs. So we focus most on the child and parents needs. So parents needs is, we found out the parents needs with using a form we call Canadian Occupational Performance Measure sets. So it is, if the child is under 8 years, we take a parent's needs concern. And if the child is non-verbal, uh, we also ask the parents to what they needs. But if the child is above 8 years, very good verbals, good understanding, so we also ask the children's students what their needs, because if we focus on their needs, they are more motivated on it. And we find out the needs according to parents and children, and making plan for each faculty of intervention with goals and objectives. So it's like if we have like, for example, child's parents needs maybe eating, drinking, walking independently, or learn some alphabets like that. So we make a goal for 3 months and activities for 3 months. So like in mainstream school, every have a class test, terminal exam, final exam. But in special schools, we just have a 3 months evaluation. So its evaluation is more on activities, achievements, and next targets. So the 3 months activities evaluation is what they achieved already and what will go for the next 3 months. And next 3 months target is also on parents needs and child needs. So if we works on the child's and parents needs, it's more satisfactory than we said we have organization, we have this facilities, then take this services. So it's focus on the needs of parents and child is more satisfactory. So its service provided by the SERC is an education department and rehabilitation. So in the special education department, we have a special education, mainstream education, cognitive development therapies, early childhood and Montessori education, vocational training, all daily living activities training, and training to the parents. In rehabilitation, we do early functional intensive therapy, physiotherapy, music therapy, speech therapy, multisensory therapy, and manufacture of devices for postural management care and support and adapted equipment. SERC Educational Department. In SERC Educational Department, we have classrooms according to the IQ. So once in special school, we have to work in multidisciplinary team. Not one can make a child be independent. So we have to be work in team. So in team, it will be parents is the major one, and teachers, rehabilitation department team, doctors, or if they need some prosthesis, prosthetic orthotic engineers, social workers, and then the psychologists and psychiatrists. So we have to work on multidisciplinary approach. So we just categorize the classroom according to the IQ, is an educational requirement and learning abilities and cognitive skills. So we divided the classroom into the total 6 classrooms. As you says, even in each classroom, there will be 10 to 12 students, one teacher and one teaching assistant. So it's little bit different than the mainstream education. In mainstream education, all the children are learning the same curriculum, but in the special school, even in classroom, if the 10 child are there, so they will learn different education. they have different individual educational plans. Like example, if they are learning the math, some are just counting the numbers, some are matching the numbers, some are doing the addition, some are doing subtraction, some are doing the double digits. So it's depend upon their abilities. So each child have their individual education plan. So according to that, we divided our class. So Edelweiss class, each classroom we give according to the flower. So Edelweiss class is more focused on, a 3 to 6 years child. So we have mostly the child who are 3 to 6, have children with cerebral palsy, children with autism, children with Down syndrome. They have mostly the problem with eating, drinking, toileting, and cognitive. So those who needs that, we focus put in the Edelweiss class. So they will be, the independent in eating, drinking, toileting, and their cognitive developments is, the early portage child guideline, early portage guideline child. So it have a development checklist from 0 to 5 years. So we have to find out if the child is, it's in a special school. It is like the child is 3 years, but he is not doing the activities even of 6 months. So we have to find out the which level the child is, and we have to teach according to that. And in Lotus class, we focus more on early childhood development and pre-primary education. So they are mostly of 6 to 8 years old child. And Lalikuras is the child with focus on ADL, cognitive development, so age 8 to 10 years. So in this classroom, mostly the children is with autism and ADSD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And then the sunflower class. So in sunflower class is like previous Surinaji said, it's a classroom with the slow learner children, sometimes what happened, children is enrolled in the mainstream school, and then they are in the 6th grade, but when we evaluated them, their education is like pre-primary, upper kindergarten level. So and they can't do education, then we'll involve them in organization and teach them a life skill. Sometimes the child, from Lotus, they will go to the sunflower class, or we have like some type of networking. So sometimes the mainstream school teacher will say, oh, this child's come for the admission in our school, but he can't walk, he can't speak. So what we can do, then they will refer to the centers. Our center will focus them on the cognitive development. Some child is very bright, but because of their physical problem, they can't attend the mainstream education because of toileting problem, walking problem, all. So in Sunflower, we focus on the pre-primary mainstream education who are from 8 to 14 years. There are physical problems or slow learner, like the school, mainstream school have this type of children, like children with attention, their ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Some have dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is children knows everything, how to eat, how to do everything, how to study Pali, how to do English, but they have problem only on math. They can't do it, very difficult. So we call as dyscalculia child. And then some are dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is he can say spelling, he can say everything. If we ask the spelling of some things, they can spell it, but the problem is writing. They are difficult in writing. They have a processing problem, how to write a letter. So it's writing problem. So they are also called as slow learner in mainstream school. And dyslexia. So they are like a child compared to the normal child, but they have a problem in speaking. So problem in auditory processing, so they can't uh, verbalize the words, they can express their ideas and all. So this type of children are mainly focused on sunflower, because if we treated them according to their problems, so they can continue their education, primary mainstream education. And we also make two of our students to completed the SCE, that 10th grade. They can study well if we find out their problems and gives the environments. So in this classroom also, each child have their individual plan. Each child is different, so teachers have a child 8 to 10, but she have to make every child study in different syllables, different topics and all. And then in Rose class, we will focus on adult informal education and life skills for the girls, mostly for the girls of 8 to 16 years. In this classroom, adult informal education is, we have adult educations, like where the people with the adult can knows how to read the numbers, letters, how to read the mobiles, how to read the hoarding boards, how to read a newspaper heading, all that this type of. So we have also a book that is developed by government for adult informal education, and also the books, some handouts and material for how to teach the children with the intellectual disabilities and other types of disabled child. And in girls' classroom, we also teach the girls about the social boundaries, because it's a very great issues on social boundaries, how to know the social boundaries, girls' rights, rules, law, policy, and even the girls' problems and issues. And in Lalupati class, we also focus on adult informal education and life skills, mostly from 14 to 18 years. So these all we focus on educational department. And like one thing I have to say, according to IQ, we said, so IQ will tell how much we can improve the child. So if you go through internet about the mental retardations IQ, according to that IQ test, you will know how much the child is mental retarded, like severe, mild, moderate, severe, or profound. And there is also, if the child is mild, we know that he can study something, he can be independent in life. If the child IQ is moderate to mild, we can say the child can study something. Maybe he needs supervision to do vocational, some supervision for vocational in life. So it will guideline where the child will be. And it also shows that in IQ, if once you got the IQ, if the child is profound, we have to modify our teaching methods according to their IQ level, their understandings. If it's profound, we have to teach them. It's very short, very small things like that. And in the research shows, we with the special educations and rehabilitation, we can improve 30% of his IQ with all these services, all this rehabilitation and special educations and cognitive development therapy. Some of our classroom pictures. And then we have a rehabilitation department. So in rehabilitation department, children will take physiotherapy. So in physiotherapy, we'll mostly focus on mobility, crawling, walking, standing, all this, and physical function. And in gym, we focus on the fitness, aerobic, group games, and group exercises. And in speech, we focus on communication. Some child with physical, like cerebral palsy, they have a problem of weak oromotor. So mostly we focus on the weak like oromotor muscles exercises, so which motivate the child with CP to verbalize the words and sentence. And we also use PECS, it's called Pictorial Exchange Communication System, and different types of augmentative and alternative communications. So PECS we mostly use for the non-verbal children with autism and other types of disabilities, and in speech, and even in classroom for children with autism and non-verbal. We have a lot of poster, even in the decks we have a pictorial schedule for each individual. And then some child have we have an iPad which also teach we call a prologue program, which will help to communicate. But the problem is that all is in English, that in iPad everything is in English. So some child with non-verbal who is little bit bright, they can use iPad to show what's their feeling, what color they likes to do, what activities they like to do, all these things. And also the yes no button, so we also have a button. If we ask something, if child needs, then he can press yes button or no button. So we use different types of augmentative and alternative communication for children. And we also have developed a wristband for communication. They are basic things that the children needs to show to the parents and teachers. So if he feels sad or sick, then he can show in the picture on the wristband. And if he likes to go out or bathe, TV, so he can just express some of basic needs to the parents and children. So then for teachers is also good to understand what the children's wants, and for parents is also good that the children is expressing. It's a good way for children to feel, self-satisfied. Oh, I can do it. They can understand my things, my gestures and all. And in occupational therapy, we focus more on fine motors and writing skills. Most of the writing skills is we focus on for autism and dysgraphia child, who, we said pre-writing skills, in early childhood and Montessori education, we have to focus on the pre-writing skills. And then we focus on ADL. In occupational therapy, in ADL, we mostly focus on dressing and brushing, and eating, toileting, that we focus on the classroom by the teachers. And concentration. So those children who have a ADSD, we can make him learn, sit in one place, follow the classroom activities without the concentration and attention activities. So we focus more on developing a concentration on these children. And visual perception. Some childs with the dysgraphia, which we call some child have a problem on differentiation between B and D, 5 and S, some words, and then even to differentiate it between two pictures, all. So we give them a visual perceptions activities. So it helps the children to differentiate it between the two picture, differentiation between the objects. It helps the children in learning, mostly on learning, visual perception. And we have a multisensory therapy. So it's snoozle, we call snoozle room. It's a sensory stimulation. So mostly in multisensory therapy, we focus on sensory stimulation. We have a sense, we all know that we have senses, 5 senses: eye, hearing, seeing, hearing, smelling, taste, skin, That's, but apart from that, we have two type of more to sensory, that is called proprioception and vestibular. So proprioception is the child will learn whether their joints is move close or open, and vestibular will makes a child they are standing, like my hand is up, I'm sitting, I'm standing, like that. So the children mostly with autism, ADHD, children with epileptic seizure disorder, they have lot of sensory problem. So we treated that in the multisensory therapy room. And behavior management, it should be we have to teach what is a good behavior, what is the bad behavior. Children, some are pica eating, mostly with the autism, and other they with the seizure disorder autism, they have lots of sensory issues. So we have to understand what are their problems, and we have to treat according to that, so then their behavior also improves. And music therapy, so music is a kind of makes the child happy. It also improves, in research it also says it improves the neuroplasticity of brain. So if there's some child have a problem with the CP, have a damage in the brain, so it helps to make that surrounding cells more active. It makes a child more attention, improve concentrations. It also improved his vocabulary, also improved his gross motor planning. Lots of things is improved with the music therapy, and also music with the movement. So we also have a vocational training department. As I said, most of the children in this department is like they attend the mainstream schools, like from childhood to 5th grade or 6th grade. But suddenly they found, or parents and school found, he can't study, or when we judge his level is of upper kindergarten, he just know how to write his name, or level of pre-primary education, then this type of children is already 16 years, then we focus on vocational. Because if we keep them on 16 years, we keep in them classroom and again teach ABCD all, they will get more frustrated. So we just try to them this type of children to focus on vocational life skills training, and let them to be empowered when they are 18 years. So we have a vocational training to, it's more on to be, to make them so economically independent. Because even if you study academic or learn the skill, our main goals is to make them independent, learn the money, survive themselves in their community, and be a productive member of a society. That's all our goals for normal children and special needs children. So that's why we do the vocational training for that children. So in pre-vocational training, we focus on making cards, necklace, bangles, growing flowers, herbs, and candles. And vocational training is from 16 to 18 years, like SERC cafe, painting, sewing, hair and beauty tailoring, Nepali traditional shoe making, bakery, running a shop, carpentry, and farming. And once they are 18 years, we just train them about job training. So we will find the skills what they are really good, and we want to train them the job training, and we'll provide the job for them. So we also have resident facilities for the children who don't have any means, who don't have any bodies, anywhere to go, or some children who are very far from the far part, far from the Kathmandu, far from this Kathmandu Valley, or very far village. So we provided the residence facilities for them. And in our residential facilities, we have disabled friendly living arrangements and quarters. So every infrastructure is disabled friendly. So everybody can go everywhere, even the wheelchair user. So it's disabled friendly. So 24-hour care and supported by dedicated staff. So everything will looks. So if resident, it is the home. So we have to treat the children's like it is as a home, and separate living arrangement for the boys and girls. so hostel. And we also have a workshop. We operate a workshop. It's dedicated towards the manufacturing and maintaining the devices and equipment needed by children living with disabilities. So, in working with disabilities, like some child needs wheelchair adjustments, some child needs shoe modifications, some child needs simple adjustment in the spoon at a, simple thing makes a child independent. So we have to find out what things needs to be modified for that child to make him independent. So that's why our workshop also helps on this a lot. We make a disabled friendly furnitures and mobility, postural and mobility equipments, adaptive equipment for therapies and ADL, and repair and maintenance of all the equipment and mobility devices. So these are some of the products we also provided to the different centers in Nepal who work with the disabilities. And we also have a farm. Just from 2 years back, we have a SERC farm. It was established with the objective of providing a communal and supervised living space for children above the 20 years of age with the intellectual and physical disabilities who are abandoned by their families because they are already 20 years. It's very difficult to survive them in a society by individuals. So we say those who don't have any parents, who don't have any means, when they are 20 years, they can go there and live in communal, and then they can earn the money by themselves and survive. So here the children will involve in various income generating activities like revolving around the farming. Like it's a simple thing, we teach a simple thing like chicken farming. We think, oh, if the child learn this, once he goes to the village who have parents, he can help his parents just taking care of chicken, and he will be a productive member of society. and and based off like Nepal is agricultural country, and goat farming, village vegetable farming, it's good income resources for people in Nepal in village. So that's we teach for the children, and it's easy. Like chicken and goat farming is very easy for children with disabilities, and vegetable farming, buffalo farming, and then fruit farming. And SCRC is Early Intervention Center. So we also have a Early Intervention Center in Kathmandu. Actually, our school is in Chapagaon in Lalitpur, which is 45 minutes far from the Kathmandu. We have an early intervention center, which was established for children below school going age and who are diagnosed with disabilities. With my working experience of 16 years, what I found is children who are not going in school, because in government school, children are enrolled after the 5 years. And the children, if they treated in the younger, they can do a lot. If children can't walk, then if they walks within 3 months or 4 months, they will have a normal life. They will be a normal like can attend a mainstream school, and their disabilities will be like mild, or they don't have too much disability. So that's a very good for the early intervention. So we focus mostly for the children with cerebral palsy from 1 to 5 years, and it is for short duration, like 2 to 3 months. So what we found, like the parents who are in the village, they can't come to the Kathmandu and stay for 2 years, 3 years for education and rehabilitation, because they have their own jobs to do, farming to do, to survive by themselves and all the family members. So with this early intervention, therapy is only for short duration, like for 2 to 3 months. So we'll give a 2 to 3 months and we reach a goal and we send them back to the village. And once they started working, they can attend regular schools available in their community. So in this early intervention, we use a high intensity goal directed therapy. It's we call functional intensive therapy. It's named as fit care. So it's research and developed by University of Tilburg in Netherlands. We also did a 3-time research in our schools, and what we found, the children is having 3 to 4 hours of therapy in a day for 3 months, have a huge result. So then they can go back to their community and they can join the regular mainstream school. So it is a program for 60 to 90 hours, short program. Or if we provide the 96 hours, then the goal we reach will be long lasting. Once we make the children walk, he will walk. He don't stop walking. So this is our early intervention center. And some of outreach services, like we used to teach the teachers of government school who works with the children with disabilities. Like I said, mainstream in the government, they have a mainstream school and resource center. So we share our schools, we share our knowledge and skills to the resource center teachers, special educator. So one of major activities of SCRC is to provide training on implementation of effective rehabilitation and teaching method to the special educators in different parts of Nepal. The training mainly focus on diagnosis and treatment of children with special needs, guidance, coaching, sharing skills, knowledge, and making support material and learning resources locally. So sometimes, the materials we have in Kathmandu, maybe they don't have it in the village or rural area. So we teach the teacher how to use locally available materials for teaching material for developing. These are some of the picture in different government school in the different district. And we also invited some of the teachers from the mainstream resource center, special educator from government schools to learn how to make a schedule in classroom, how to teach the special needs children in classrooms, how to develop the education materials. So these are some of the training. We also train the parents how to do the home program. So in overall, these all activities we are doing in Nepal. It's little bit slightly different in different organization, but this type of service is available in Nepal. So areas that are yet to be addressed in Nepal is, although we have much have done in the areas of special education, there still is more work to be done. Like some areas where we think more intervention is needed and are struggling to intervene here. So early intervention is, I open my center seeing all the problems that are facing in village and all from my 16 years of experience. So this early intervention of children to prevent a life of disability in the future is needed. Early intervention is disabilities of children, if have that disability won't remain in the future. So vocational training for the physical and intellectual handicapped children, empowerment and employment of people living with disabilities needs to be addressed. Development of disability for friendly for infrastructure, removal of architecture barrier in public, private resources, infrastructure like schools, buildings, roads, and all. Development of skilled manpower to support people living with disabilities. Collaboration between different organizations to different teaching resources and methodologies. Developing disabilities friendly policies and acts, and abundance of acts discriminating the people living with disabilities. So thank you. I hope you all get some ideas how we provide the services for the children with disabilities in Nepal. this is my end of the session. So if anybody who has the questions, so they all are welcome. You all are.
Hello, I'm Tarini Balanshi. Madam,
Yeah.
I would like to ask, how did the COVID-19 pandemic affect the children with special needs in Nepal?
So actually, you know, with the COVID is a very difficult problem in the organization who works with the disabilities. So it's closed, and then mostly the children with autism, they follow the schedule, you know, so they have their own schedule to go schools and do activities, but they have to stay in room. It's create a lot of problem for the children with autism or some behavior problems. They have lots of psychological problems now, because they have to be stay inside, so which is very difficult for them, you know, and they lacks the treatments and all. It is and also, you know, they don't get proper therapy, so some child is goes on regression. But some of the parents is doing by themselves at home, so it's very difficult. It's makes, you know, that pandemics makes the children with disabilities uh, more worse, that what they are doing, they already, I think, forgot it, and they have to be inside the house. But actually they needs to be free, do play lots of things. It's very difficult for the children, and some of them have psychological issues.
Thank you, Madam.
Hello, madam. I am Nipuni. Madam,
Yeah.
how does Nepal use modern technology to interact with children with special need?
How is Nepal? Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
Nepal use modern technology to interact children with special need?
So in private sector, there are very few center in Nepal. Actually, I also started my school as a private for 9 years. And I thought, like, you know, I'm getting older, then somebody have to look and take care of my organization. Then I converted into a non-profit, non-government organization. But it's there are very few organizations which are run by the privately by the people. It's only 3 4, not more than 2 3 4, not more than three. So mostly is run by the you know, I said the resource center that is totally funded and run by the government. And then the NGOs and INGOs are running that center. So only three are run by the privately, but it is in Kathmandu, not in other outside the Kathmandu.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I would like to ask, how will
Yes.
Nepal modern methods to interact with special education?
How much?
How will Nepal modern methods to interact with special education?
Okay, so actually now our government is going for the integrated school, you know, integrated school. So we don't have a university for special education. It's very hard to get a teacher with the special education with the special education. But some organizations are providing a training for related with the how to training for 6 months for how to do with the how to teach the children with autism, early childhood educations. That's all helps for the special needs children. And so it's a little bit I think this areas needs to be it's more developed, needs to be more developed, because as for if we have an integrated school and then teacher have also the special needs children, so teacher have to have a new methodologies, new approaches how to teach them. So it still needs to be improved a lot in Nepal.
Thank you, ma'am.